hey, it's Jug. And it's just as much that fear, more than exactly what. Hold up. Richie, what happened? I'm sitting here trying to watch this. You said he committed to who? Well, thanks for watching with me, guys. Absolutely no news from me, but Agent Odom has committed to Ohio State. Fantastic news, guys. This is big. This is big time. Absolutely huge. Let's throw up our guy's film. Why not? This was him at a camp the other day, absolutely manhandling somebody. A dude his size. I mean, you can just see, look at his thighs. Look at that lower half on him. The dude is a beefy sucker, man. And now let's get it.
And I don't think he's going to throw the ball as much as he thinks he's going to throw the ball now that Chip Kelly's on board. And I'm happy about that. More quarterback.
The truth is Ryan Day has made a change philosophically, but it's none of those.
You all know who wins. LSU is the drunkest fan base in the country.
Yeah, welcome in. Thank you so much for joining me on the Juck on Bucks weekend show. Appreciate you guys so much. I'm sure you've seen by now. So I wasn't planning on doing a show today. I was planning on coming on Sunday and doing a little live talk with everybody because I was out at family obligations today. Mom's retirement party. Congratulations, Mom. My biggest fan. But I just didn't have time to do my normal notes, my normal process for the weekend show, which generally takes me a long time to put together. And I didn't want to come on and do a sloppy show. So I figured we would go live Sunday. And then the Dorian Brew news broke. And it kind of ruined the second half of that party for me because all I was doing was thinking, gosh, I got to get something down. And this is what I mean by get something down. I'm just obsessive like that. But anyway, it's now 1 a.m. and I've finally been able to get my notes down for the show because I had to change everything that I previously had. And we'll get to that. But obviously, very disappointing. I still consider Dorian Brew to be an Ohio high school football player. This is an Ohio kid. He considers himself to be an Ohio football player. He said it in an interview. And I'm going to tell you straight up, I'm stunned, man. Friday, we were waiting on Dorian Brew's commitment. It wasn't a very well-kept secret. I actually heard it first on my live show on Friday morning. And boy, by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it appeared imminent that he was good. And I'm talking people in the know were, yeah, this is coming. Everybody knew it. It was coming. And when it didn't come Friday, I started feeling like something's up. And my immediate thought was USC and Texas were going in a bidding war here. USC obviously signed Justice Terry, Elijah Griffin, 2 5-star defensive linemen out of Georgia, and then followed that up with a really highly rated cornerback out of Florida, and then Gus Cordova down in Texas in like a 3-day span. And we covered it here on the show. And it was when they first started building that momentum on defense. Then they lost Justice Terry and Elijah Griffin last week. Maybe it was 10 days or so ago. And then most recently, they lost that cornerback. Now, the pitch to all these guys, to Trey McNutt, to Dorian Brew from USC, was come to USC, a blue blood program in Hollywood. I'm Lincoln Riley. I got the offense. All I need is you guys to come in together. You're all going to play early. We're going to go win national championships. And it's a good pitch, and we're going to pay you. But you got to have the other guys to make that pitch work. Without the other guys, number one, they're desperate. Number two, the money goes way up of what they can afford to give to Brew and McNutt. And number three, when another guy who is involved is Texas, also LSU and Ohio State. Dad went to LSU as an Olympic sprinter. Mom in the Ohio State Athletics Hall of Fame, a sprinter. The kid's fast, man. He got mom and dad's speed. However, dad also coaches in Texas. And we know sometimes that if you're a coach in Texas, you can accelerate your career if you got a 5-star player or son who ends up at a certain school. It's happened before. We know how that works. So there's a couple different angles you can see that attach him to all of these schools, but not USC and certainly not Oregon. They weren't even in the cards, man. It wasn't even an option. I was fearing that USC and Texas were driving this puppy up, and I still thought he was going to give Ohio State a hometown discount because we listened to him. Look, in January when he committed to Ohio State, and he did commit to the coaching staff, he didn't publicly commit. He was going to announce it. He had the graphics made up. He was ready to roll. He backed out of it, and he was going to be looking around. We had three corners then, Naeem, Devin, and Blake Woodby. When Blake decommitted, there was a lot of talk that this would bring Dorian potentially back into the mix. But we all heard from everybody that they wanted him as a safety at Ohio State, not as a corner. So why would that make any difference? Safety was the talk for quite a while. And then relatively recently, it turned to no, they want him as a corner. And then it's been revealed that this was Dorian's decision to want to play corner, specifically Dorian's. Now, Dorian, a really muscular kid. And when you saw him next to Devin Sanchez and Naeem Offord at their official visit that the three of them were together on, this is a guy who doesn't lack the speed, but is also just a more physically built young man than those two are. And he's going to be awesome. He really is. But he's raw at cornerback. He does not have the skills yet up to the level of Devin Sanchez and Naeem Offord. Could they get there? I think absolutely. But by the time they get there, how much further along are Devin and Naeem as the two starting corners? And these are all very logical things for him to think about and for other coaches who are trying to get him to recruit against Ohio State for. So a tough choice and a tough decision, even with the ties to Ohio, even with him really loving Ohio State, and I do believe he does. A tough choice for sure. That room is stacked. Aaron Scott and Bryce West, Jermaine Matthews and Calvin Simpson-Hunt, and Devin Sanchez and Naeem Offord, absolutely loaded. But despite all that, I still think he wanted to be a Buckeye, and I feel like he revealed it through what he said in an interview with Mark Givler from Buckeye Huddle. It just felt like the dude missed home. He talked about Ohio State as in we. This is a bummer, man. This is a real bummer. After I heard that interview, we're talking about 5-star cornerback and a 5-star safety in Trey McNutt that we're about to lose in one cycle. We're obviously willing to spend money at get cornerback. Hell yes, we are. We're going to put our best foot forward financially when it comes to the trenches, when it comes to quarterback, and when it comes to cornerback. Just like the NFL, they're the highest draft picks. They're the highest paid positions. It's no different for the NIL system. While we don't have a salary cap, we're still working with, a budget. We don't have unlimited funds, so we got to spend smart. You still got to have money for a guy like David Sanders. You still got to have money for a guy like Jakeem Stewart, who's probably going to reclassify. I mean, almost certainly. You're still going after Malik Autry. That's going to be a very expensive one. Auburn's best recruit in their class, trying to flip him. It's not going to come cheap. So can you afford to swing the big stick financially on the number 3 cornerback as much as you like him and as much as you want him? No, you really can't. You just can't. You can't afford that. It's the number 3 corner. If you think about when Blake Woodby was in the class, I mean, as disappointing as this is, losing out on Dorian Brew, he was the 3rd corner. Obviously, he was a better prospect than Blake Woodby. But can you think of spending a lot of money on Blake Woodby? We're talking about the 3rd corner in the class. The priority level drops when you've got number 1 and number 2 already in the class. There's just that extra needle twist that he's an Ohio kid to me. That's the needle twist. You know what I mean? That's the one that stings. I still don't know at what point Oregon entered the equation as such a heavy hitter in this. I've not got to that information. I've tried to find some stuff quickly, but I've not found it. I don't know if anybody has put out the story yet as to how this accelerated so quickly for Oregon. A job well done, that's for sure. But we're good, man. We're good. We're not good. We're great. We're great in the cornerback room in the class of 2026, 5-star, top 15-ish, top 10 overall prospect, Rock Hill, right down the street from me here at Hoban. We got Vic Singleton, a top 50 overall prospect corner in Toledo Central Catholic, both of whom have excellent relationship with the Buckeyes already. Rock's been down 12 times. He's already done a lot of due diligence. He's already been to Bama. He's already been to all the big schools in the Big Ten. You know, he's gone and visited everywhere already. Done his Notre Dame. Loves the Buckeyes. Incredibly comfortable there. You know, we're looking really, really good for the two of those guys. And that's nice, man, having those two dudes home next year. So as far as our secondary is concerned, it's very, very good. Very, very strong. So does this affect us? Not much. No, it doesn't. Does it still suck? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's incredibly irritating. And I can't stand it when somebody tells me all the stuff that I just said to you as a way to say, shut up, you shouldn't be mad. Like, no, I operate on a 24-hour rule. I'm mad about this, and I'm going to be mad for 24 hours. And I'm mad for a couple reasons. Number one, we didn't pursue Brandon Finney hard at all. Brandon Finney is a very good athlete, cornerback, wide receiver, pretty raw, like Dorian Brew, excellent physical gifts, not as many. But we tried to slow play him and get him to wait until after Brew's decision, so we weren't going too hard at him. Brandon Finney was not going to wait. So Brandon Finney went to Oregon, which means they got our first option for the number 3 cornerback and our backup plan. Where do we stand now? Well, we'll talk about that later. But that's the first reason I'm pretty irritated. Obviously, I'm not blaming this on our Buckeyes. That's just the circumstances. They had to slow play Finney. They couldn't take them both. So they had to do it. I'm just irritated with the circumstances. Limited numbers, man. And you're not going to take Finney over Brew. So you had to do it. The second reason I'm so irritated is I still consider him an Ohio 5-star cornerback, even though he played his ball in Texas last season, who will not be playing his ball at Ohio State. And that always will drive me nuts for the rest of my life. Third reason, we're not going to land Trey McNutt, which makes it 2. 2 5-star Ohio secondary players that are not going to play their ball at Ohio State. But unlike Dorian Brew, McNutt never had that kind of love for Ohio State. So the Brew thing hurts more to me. McNutt told us time and time again, if you listen to anything he said, it was not high on his priority list. It's just not something that he feels for Ohio State. That's just what it is. It was never in the cards. But it was for Dorian Brew. Losing 2 5-star secondary players out of the state of Ohio, one from Dayton, one from Cleveland, not only going to end up at Ohio State, something that doesn't happen often, but going to end up, I'm going to play this clip for you. This clip is embarrassing, for one. It is maybe my second week of doing this show. That wasn't a show. It was just little clips I was doing, trying to get my feel behind a microphone. And I'm going to play this. Don't laugh at me too hard. The clip is funny. Okay, I didn't have it uploaded. All right, now I've uploaded this. So the clip is funny. You're probably going to get a little chuckle. I was just getting my feet wet. Keep that in mind. And I will make sure that I make this private or I show this to you so nobody can ever see it again. It's interesting when you look back at when you have yourself documented like this, like, my progress is documented. And it's a great thing, I guess, because I can see the progress. It's also embarrassing because you realize, gosh, man, that was not good. But here it is. And why I'm showing you this is what I was afraid of. And yeah, it's true, man. This is what it is now.
Yeah, it's Oregon. The Ducks, they absolutely have their man in Dan Lanning. He gave a huge bird to Texas A&M and then Bama in the offseason, when you know damn well that both of those programs would have hired him in a second had he signed the deal. And he said unequivocally, like we never see coaches say, screw you, I can do everything I want to do right here. And dude, when he said that, I think every real hardcore college football fan around the country like you and I said to ourselves, God, I wish I had that dude coaching my team. The dude's just awesome. And it's no wonder that they just signed the greatest class they ever have in school history. And it's no wonder that they went out and picked everyone they wanted out of the transfer portal, because Dan Lanning has those chops. Now, yes, obviously they have massive financial boosting from Phil Knight, Uncle Phil, and Nike. We know that. But that's been there for 20 years. It's taken the other piece of that to get the excitement around the program like it is right now. And that piece is Dan Lanning. And he's not going anywhere. And neither is Oregon, except potentially to a national championship and to the Big Ten next year, where they, the Oregon Ducks, become the biggest competition for the Ohio State Buckeyes in the Big Ten.
Cringe. Oh my gosh, is that cringe? I know. However, the sentiment I stand behind. I mean, like, we could see this coming from a mile away. They went out this year. In this current system, they can recruit as good as us. And that's an uneasy feeling. But that's where we're at, guys. That's where we're at. It's an uneasy feeling. We're not used to this. We're not used to a team in the Big Ten who can win these head-to-head battles against us consistently. We're just not used to it. And Brew wasn't even a head-to-head battle. We weren't even fighting him. We didn't think so. But like I said in the video, man, that guy's not going anywhere. He's not. Nor is the ability to pay these guys what you want to pay them, at least not anywhere in the near future. Nor is the transfer portal. And every time you sign classes like their class, and every big prospect that goes to Oregon and does well there makes the guys behind them, the up-and-comers that are top-notch prospects, look at that as a destination that is now a realistic possibility for them where they otherwise might not have 4 or 5 years ago. Makes them more likely to choose their school, just like Ziggy Grady and Naeem Offord coming to Ohio State make it more likely for the next Alabama prospect to choose Ohio State. Obviously, this is not the first time we've lost big prospects. It's happened forever. Jackson Carman and Fred Davis, we could think of a lot of them, but I can't remember a time when it was so, I don't know how to describe it. It just feels like the country has shrunk and every one of these kids is now a national prospect going to visit Georgia and Bama, like our dudes in Ohio. And I am just irritated by that. I hate it, but it's the way it is now. When you got a kid like Bo Jackson, who's like a shy dude, and he's down kicking it at Georgia and Bama, like that's just what it is now. And we just got to get used to it. And we're about to lose some really talented kids. It doesn't prevent us from bringing them in. We can bring them in just as easy. It's a two-way street. But there's sometimes I just kind of want to hit the reset button and go back to the way it was. But, But let's talk about the Buckeyes and the Ducks and the head-to-head matches that we've been talking about for the entirety of this cycle. that I've been saying I've never seen the Ducks in on so many of the same guys that we're in on. They've always been in on a couple of the top guys. Heck, we've never been quite in on all these top guys. We've always been on quite a few. But we're now it's not like you can just take the rankings and say, okay, pick one name out of the top 5 guys and Ohio State's going to be on him. Wasn't like that before. It is now. Doesn't matter where they live. And Oregon is right there with us on every single one. Their class was at 12th as of, last night. I loaded up some pictures for the weekend show. I don't have the picture loaded up. I'm an idiot. They went from like 12th to 4th. Their per player rating, 100th of a point lower than ours. They can recruit with us head to head. Who did we go up against Oregon with? Battles that they won this cycle so far. Dorian Brew, Jordan Davidson, even though we kind of pulled off at the end. Brandon Finney, even though we kind of slow played him and he was a backup plan. Dier Hill, even though he was a late offer by Carlos Lachlan when he came to Ohio State. And I don't think we really pushed him hard because we still had Bo, Marquise, and Jordan Davison in the fold that were probably above the priority board than Dier Hill, which was a mistake. Zaire Addison, offensive lineman out of Florida, but that was a late offer, part of the second wave of offers, but we really wanted him. It sounds like I'm making excuses. I'm not. And when I name off the guys that the Buckeyes got, I'm sure that several of them, the Oregon folks, are going to have reasons, similar to ours about maybe why we had an easier path to one of them. But we beat them for Trajan Odom, Naeem Offord, Bo Jackson, Fahim Delane, Nate Roberts, all guys that the Buckeyes got that the Ducks were after. I don't know what their how far they got along with Devin Sanchez. I know that they wanted him. Can't recall that one. If any of the Ducks can fill me in on that. But the point I'm making here is this is about a 50-50 split, man. And nobody in the Big Ten has hung with us like this. And this shouldn't be a fair fight. The geography has been something that's held Oregon back for a long time. The NIL has erased that disadvantage. So, no knock on them. They're doing exactly what they should do, exactly what we would want our team to do if we had the same issue. But this is the reality now. And it's something that I am just kind of having to recalibrate in my brain. It's an uncomfortable fact, but it is a fact. We now have a team in the Big Ten. We now have an Alabama to our Georgia. You know what I mean? Or a Texas to our Texas A&M. We now have somebody who can do the same thing we can do. And we have not had to deal with that. We've dealt with a team that recruits at a lesser clip than us, and once in a while will, hit on a lot of those prospects. And also, develop some of them really well as well. And so do we. In fact, we put more 3-star prospects in the NFL, a higher percentage of Ohio State 3-star prospects in the NFL than anybody. So we do an excellent job at developing. Don't let them fool you. But let's talk about another one of those guys and turn the page to some good news. But first, I'm going to get another Diet Pepsi. Okay, I'm back. We're all Diet Pepsi'd up. Okay, so I'm back. Before we move on, a lot of people have been talking about maybe the potential of the Buckeyes bringing in Dwayne Galloway, who is a local corner, as that third corner. 5'11", 170. He ran really fast at the camp he was just at recently. He's pretty raw, been participating on the 7-on-7 circuit and looked pretty good on that. Position ranking 15, 22, 21, 9 on Rivals, which who cares what they say. But on 3's got him at, close to a top 150 kid. There isn't, when you look at the corners, there's only a couple available that are rated higher than him. And one's out of Tampa and he's a top 10 kid. They're both top 10 kids, one out of Miami, one out of Tampa. I don't see many other options, honestly. If they short of flip, being able to flip somebody, I don't know what way they're going to go, but I don't know. As of yet, they haven't shown any interest, and I don't think he's been high on their board. He's also, despite being, a top 150 kid, hasn't been really recruited by a lot of the schools on Ohio State's level, and most likely will end up at Kentucky if he does not get that Buckeye offer. So we'll monitor it and see what way they're going to go. When we talk about Kentucky, man, first let me show you this is the recruiter rankings, and you can see that OG and LJ are number 1 and number 2 in this year's recruiting rankings. And if you've ever wondered why so many Ohio kids end up at Kentucky, number 4 right there is your answer. Vince Marrow, Youngstown dude who owns Kentucky recruiting in the state of Ohio. And I took a picture of his class for you right now. So this is his class. And you can see he's got Marquise. Then you got a kid out of Paducah, Kentucky. Then Cedric Works, Ohio. Quentin Simmons, Ohio. A Michigan kid. And then Brennan Ward, Ohio. Tucker Caddis, Ohio. And at the very bottom there, you can't see because the picture cut off, is Preston Bowman. So that is your answer for that. But, and the updated recruiting rankings after Oregon bagged Jordan Davidson and Dorian Brew. They are up to number 5 with 14 commits. And this does not show the per player ranking up here, or does, I'm sorry, it does. 93.69, and as you can see, the Bucks are at 93.7. LSU is at 93.71. But LSU has very few commits, and they will drop for sure. I see Oregon dropping too, as they have 7 less commits, and generally that means you need to backfill with, towards the end with some lower rated guys. So Bucks probably will still have the edge for that. Bama is the biggest worry here at 9344. Trajan Odom gave an interview. Trajan Odom, 6'4", 285. A case could be made that he is the biggest sleeper on this year's class. And I've kind of been making that case, and I'm going to continue to. I really think that this is a guy that we've not given enough attention to throughout the cycle here. This is a big one. 3-tech run stuffer. He can rush the passer from the inside. He's just a pup. When you look at him, just his face, everything about him looks like this kid's going to grow. He's still going to grow another inch. I think he's probably going to end up before he leaves at about 315, 320. He's 285 right now. By the way, that would put him at Malik Autry's size. Of course, Malik's that size right now, but you never know. 40 pounds away, and that's sounds like a lot, but that's, if we're talking about percentage-wise, that's the same as a 200-pounder getting up to about 225, 228. So we see that all the time. Fast, violent hands. As a sophomore and junior, recorded 95 tackles, 33 tackles for loss, and 9 sacks out at Weddington, North Carolina. Game 1 of the season, Malik Autry and Weddington against David Sanders and Providence Day. That'll be a fun one. Anyway, Malik said, I see myself as a 3-tech, but I can also play wide, 5-tech, and third downs, get a mismatch. It's a lot about seeing if I can get a one-on-one to get to the quarterback. I'm choosing Ohio State because of the GOAT, Larry Johnson. The guy's in the NFL, and Coach Day has the program in position to win national championships, and I want to be part of a program that's really going to win and develop me. The city of Columbus, the fans, the support. I can really stamp my name in that program. It's a place I really see myself thriving. Coach Johnson made it clear I'm the guy for the 3 tech. They think I'm going to be an immediate impact guy to fill in for Tyleek. They breed defensive linemen and they have alumni all across the country. I like that. That sounds really great, man. He said all the right stuff, of course, but went a little more in depth there than we usually get. So the 247 internal grade, he's a 3-star, an 89, which is the highest you can be as a 3-star. That's insane. When you watch this guy and a guy that size, there's no way you can justify this rating. I don't get it. No idea what's going on here. That's just it's not right. That's all I can say. But I don't care. I think it's amusing at this time. I think Malik Autry's rating is also amusing too. Very lowly ranked. And it's almost as if they forgot how valuable these enormous dudes in the middle are. I don't get it at all. So as of now, in the class of 2025, he is the most undervalued prospect. Saturday morning, I got to do a guest appearance on the Voice of College Football Ohio State channel with JR. And JR is a listener of this show, and he's in the comments every day, and I appreciate that. Always fun to go on someone else's show where I can interact with someone else because I'm always by myself. I don't have a co-host to talk to or answer questions. That would be fun every once in a while. So I always do those guest appearances when someone asks me. Always fun. Anyway, he wanted to talk about this kind of the whole weirdness of the Jordan Davidson situation, which is going to be a recruitment we remember. I mean, a weird one that saw Tony Alford leave towards the end of his recruitment and Ryan Day take over, keep hold of it, and then bring in Carlos Loughlin from Oregon, who was recruiting him at Oregon. Now, of course, he ends up at Oregon, but Loughlin had that great relationship. Some people even thought, went as far as to say that Ohio State hired him because of his relationship with Jordan Davidson. Like as if, look, that's ridiculous anyway, but as if Jordan Davidson was like, Leonard Fournette, right? Like, no, he's not that type of dude. He never was. For some reason, we had a whole lot of talk like he was that kind of guy around here. That happens every once in a while in recruiting when a guy's name gets brought up early as the number one on our board. The dude was never that. He is never that. But my question is, we know the Buckeyes didn't play ball with their demands. I'm wondering if the Ducks did either, because the impression that I got was that they kind of had a similar stance. They weren't pushing the financial offer. And JR said that he had heard.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just out in the open, like NIL essentially became an issue because the rumor was that Oregon threw a bag at Jordan Davidson and said, we think you're worth more. I don't know how they did that. If Jordan Davidson did come in 37 pounds overweight.
Definitely not what I heard when I talked to my contact that works. Definitely not what I had heard. I had heard just the opposite, that the Ducks were kind of in a similar situation with Camp Davison. They knew about the weight as well. Again, we talked about, him being 240 and then that being, and then Jordan's dad corrected me after I talked to him. He corrected me in the comment section, said he was 224. And then he goes out to the Rivals camp 2 days later.
Information we got today from, I think, the Rivals camp, correct me if I'm wrong, but Cody Carpenter, he says Jordan Davidson came in, he's listed at 203, but he came in 37 pounds overweight
So that guy tweeted that, and then that guy took the tweet down. So I don't know why he took the tweet down. The tweet, while it does mention the weight, he's complimentary of him as a wide receiver in the tweet as well. But anyway, the dude ends up signing at Oregon. This is a real bummer because I think that Ohio State won this recruitment. I think they got over the hurdle of the 3-man class to Jordan Davison. I think that was done. They got over that with him. And I think that he wanted to go to Ohio State. Anyway, I don't know if Oregon came up and met those demands. I really don't. And I don't think they did. I bet they did a little bit. But I don't think this was a situation where they came in and and tossed a big bag. I really don't. But Davidson committed, and in his video, he was very emotional. As some people, listen, I'm very emotional too. I cry very easily. So I don't want to read too much into that. But what we do know is he was very emotional. And it seems like it's kind of ended with a big whirlwind of it could be this school, that school, that school, whoever's going to pay me, right? Like that's kind of how it ended. And it seemed like it was really stressful. And I do feel bad for him. But he had some things to say. He says Lanning is probably the coolest head coach I've met so far. He's going to for sure win a national championship, and he for sure is going to have the players and coaches to do it. He also loves the vibe in Eugene. They show a whole bunch of love, you know. They're very consistent on how they recruited me. I wouldn't even say they recruited me. They just build relationships and truly care and continue to be a part of me and my family. So Davidson off to Oregon at 5'11", 220. According to the article I just read you with that quote, though we know he's not, but he will be. They'll whip him right into shape. The number 96 overall prospect, number 5 running back, according to On3 in the 2025 cycle. And our saga is now complete with Jordan Davidson. But I want to ask, and I know we have some regular ducks on Juck, right? We got some regular ducks in here. What do you guys think of this? Because I haven't seen any of you weigh in on the comments about this entire thing with Davidson. Obviously, you're stoked about Dorian Brew. How do you feel about Davidson? I mean, you got D'Air Hill, who I think is absolutely going to be a fantastic running back for you guys. Perfect Oregon running back, in fact. Davidson, I don't know, man. What are you guys thinking? I'd love to know. Do you think that you dropped a bag on him? Do you what's your take on that? Love to hear. Anyway, I'm not too upset about it. In fact, I'm not upset at all about it. I would have preferred D'Air Hill if we could have got that third, and I would have preferred Shakai Mills-Knight, who the Bucks are now pursuing again. But I don't see it happening because Akeelan Deere decommitted from Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is big in on Shakai Mills-Knight. Ole Miss also lost 3 other players last week, high-dollar players, and they now have 0 running backs in the class, which means Shakai Mills-Knight can walk right into there, be the only guy, and get some money. They might get another guy, but he's going to be prioritized at Ole Miss, and I think that's where he ends up at this point. So, yeah, man, it was always going to be tough to get him. I always had the feeling, and I've said consistently, that I think he wants to be prioritized, not a third back in the class. And we're going to get to that. So Kevin Noon came out, Kevin Noon of Buckeye Huddle, and he had tweeted this the other day that he talked to Bo Jackson, and Bo said that he told him it was only going to be a 2-week class. And Bo said it was only going to be a 2 running back class. So Kevin Noon again repeated that on his podcast the other night. And I'm really, really confused by this. Now, we remember Isaiah West's very first comments about he has no problem being part of a 3-man class. That running back room is wide open. That was the first interview Isaiah West did with Bill Kurelic. We know that we have heard several people come out and say emphatically the staff was very clear with all 3 of these guys. Jordan Davidson was just in town on an official. Very easily could have committed. That would have been a 3-man class. Were they just waiting for that to happen to then go tell Bo? What if Bo left? I can't believe Bo wasn't told. But I believe Kevin Noon's telling the truth. So why is Bo saying that? Like, he had to have been told. There's no way they would have gone through all that with Bo to then add a third back and then him say, "What do you mean? I'm out of here." They had to have told Bo. And again, I don't think Noon is lying. So is Bo just misunderstanding? I don't get this, man. What are you guys thinking here? Like, definitely they told him, right? We heard Berm say it emphatically like 10 times over the course of this recruitment. Yes, they definitely told. Look, Berm gets the information directly from them more than anybody else. and he sticks up for them in a lot of cases. In a lot of ways, he comes off like a friend of a lot of those coaches, to be honest. Sometimes it sounds like he's the PR man for them. But he's also very honest. But you can tell he doesn't like it when things don't go good. He doesn't like it when they're criticized, and that's all fine. But let's be clear. He knows more than anybody because they tell him everything, and he was emphatic in saying that they told all three of these running backs it was going to be a 3-man class. Told them all. So Bo goes and tells Noon it's only going to be a 2-man class. I don't get it. I really don't. I'm very confused by this. Not that it matters, because Noon said Bo said he wouldn't care. But it just doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, weird story all the way around. I still don't believe we're going to be able to pull off the Anthony Rodgers deal, especially with how on fire Bama is this class. I just don't see it happening. Love to hear your thoughts, guys. Can we throw somebody in there just for the heck of it and still go to the portal? Do you want to throw a developmental guy, try to flip a guy like Jeff Overton, who, they had an offer out too early, who's committed to Virginia Tech now? I wouldn't want to. I don't know. I just, to bring someone on just to have an extra body to then process that body out if you don't end up liking them, if they're not up to your level, and trying to flip anybody who's, pretty good in a 3-man class. It just doesn't sound like something that's going to work. I don't know, guys. Tell me what you think. CJ Stroud has spawned all kinds of Texans fans. Now, this is at the party today. This is Carm, Rocco, and Leo, 2 of my sons and a nephew, all rocking their CJ Stroud Texans jerseys. These are the new jerseys, by the way. They got the little bull horn on the side. They're pretty slick. Oddly, my middle son, has been a Texans fan for like 5 years, but now everybody's on board. CJ Stroud, Texans fans all around. I failed as a father. None of them are Browns fans, but honestly, I don't know, man. Who could blame them? Who could blame them? I wish I wasn't born into it sometimes. But we got some other stuff we got to go over. I need to show you. So Will Howard went out to the Manning Passing Academy. And the Manning Passing Academy brings out the college quarterbacks, and they are the instructors for the 8th grade to 12th grade quarterbacks. And Will had this to say to the press.
Going forward with the thoughts of, the discipline and the juice and everything, what do you think, using those keys going into the season, what do you think y'all can accomplish this year at Ohio State?
I mean, I think it's national championship or bust for us, man. Like with the weapons we have, I mean, there's no doubt we're going.
National championship or bust, says Will. And at this passing academy, there was a list that came out of guys who were great performers, the quarterbacks who were great performers at the college quarterbacks. On that list, Jackson Arnold of Oklahoma, Carson Beck of Georgia, Jackson Dart of Ole Miss, Quinn Ewers of Texas, Dequan Finn of Baylor, our Toledo transfer, Dylan Gabriel of Oregon, Garrett Green of West Virginia, Cade Klubnik of Clemson, Riley Leonard of Notre Dame, Garrett Nussmeier of LSU, Jalen Rayner of Arkansas State, and Kiner Wagman from Texas A&M. And there were some irritated Buckeye fans that our guy didn't make this list at the Manning Passing Academy. However, this is what they were doing. 3 throws ranging in yardage distances that required participants to hit 3 moving golf carts before making a 40-plus yard throw into a kaboom net. Only 3 quarterbacks hit all 3 moving targets. 1 took home the FNL Quarterback Challenge title in a 1-ball sudden death competition that required the quarterbacks to hit one of the moving golf carts. The night capped off with the Canes Challenge, where each quarterback got 1 attempt at throwing the football into a basketball hoop 30 yards out. While the competition didn't provide a huge sample size, there were some quarterbacks who popped between warm-ups and competition. So, when I first saw it, I wish Will was on the list. It was like, here we go, man. Once again, no Will. And when I saw what they actually did, no reason to be concerned that Will wasn't on the list for the Kane Series basketball 30-yard throw and the moving golf carts. I would love to do that, by the way. That would be a lot of fun. I always used to watch the quarterback competition at the All-Star game or the Pro Bowl when I was young. And that was my favorite part. And I always wanted to do that. I won the punt, pass, and kick competition, Summit County, when I was a kid. Got to go to Cleveland Stadium, just so you know, right? I did do that. I got whooped at the stadium, though. I got whooped. That kid threw the ball, man. Howard said further in an interview about coming to Ohio State, it's been great. The spring was kind of a transition period for me, kind of just feeling it out, feeling everyone out. I wanted to come in and not be too loud spoken, not step on anybody's toes, but now's the time. Coming back in the summer, it's like, all right, it's time to go now. I'm stepping in. I'm trying to be that leader, stepping up in every way, and it's been good. The guys took to me really well, and the locker room really surprised me of how good of a person everyone is. For me personally, I'm not changing a ton about what I do. I think I'm trying to be me and play my game, but I feel like now the Ohio State system, I don't really have to be a hero or anything. I can kind of dish the ball out, make good decisions, and let those guys go make plays. But it's a tough process. I was a little uneasy about making the move to Ohio State. I was really cemented. I was comfortable. I knew all my guys, Howard said, looking back. Going to a new place was kind of what I needed. Step out of my comfort zone. I was ready for it. But yeah, it's not easy by any stretch. I leaned on those guys. I came in a lot. I leaned on those guys I came in with a lot because we were all kind of going through the same thing. And it took a little bit to kind of get my feet wet, get comfortable just with the guys in the program. But honestly, it didn't take too long. By the time spring ball came around, I was pretty well engrossed in it. I mean, they embraced me really well, really well. We got a really tight team this year, so it's cool. All we heard from the Kansas State folks when we got Will was, first off, nothing bad about him. And second, what a great leader he was. And it takes savvy to be a good leader. He knew he couldn't come in and just start, I'm the quarterback, swinging his big stick. So he bought in, made friends with everybody, led by example, and now he's ready to step up. I really like to hear that. I love to hear that he doesn't need to be a hero. He can just facilitate the offense, distribute the ball, let them make plays. Not the attitude or the words you would expect to hear out of a guy who was coming back to improve his draft stock. Normally you would think that guy is wanting to come in to show off his arm, show the NFL throws, whatever it is they said they were looking for. They probably didn't tell him they were looking for him to go distribute the ball to let the other guys make plays. I don't know. But the dude's a stud, man. He's a stud. I really like everything about him. There's a couple things in his game I wish were better, but what he is, he does it great. And leadership is one of them. I'm really happy, man. I'm really excited. Guy's a champion, right? He won the Big 12 championship. And none of our seniors have won the Big 10. So I don't want to, I'm not going to knock it just because it's the Big 12. Guy won a championship, leading by example, and total stud. And this team, talk about leaders. You know what I mean? Like Jack, Emeka, G. Scott, Cody Simon. I think Josh Fryer is a pretty good leader on the offensive line. Donovan Jackson, those guys in that group. So chock full of leaders, senior guys that are bonded. We're hearing a whole lot about this golf, man. The team's really playing a lot of golf now, which is funny. That's funny to me. But I absolutely love this team. I can't wait. Can't wait to see some football and hopefully some highlights from these practices that are going to be coming up. They got a couple 4 practices open to the public, I think. I'm not going to be going, but I will get some footage. One of my buddies is going. So hopefully you're allowed to record. If not, he's going to get some Connor Stalions glasses. So EA released their official ratings for the game. And Colorado, they have as the 16th best power-rated team. A team that won 4 games last year, had more than half of their roster, 45 guys leave, brought in 45 new ones. Doesn't sound like the recipe for success or a very improved team. But people keep saying, well, they got a much easier schedule this year. Last year they played in the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 was tough last year, and it was. They're in the Big 12 this year. Much easier schedule? No, it's not. It may be a little easier, but I've seen their schedule, and I'm quite familiar with those teams in the Big 12. And the Big 12 has a lot of teams that I really like, and one of the main reasons I really like them is they're schools that are smaller, not historically dominant football programs, but have scratched and clawed to get their way to the P4 and really have embraced trying to recruit, spending on football. Schools like Cincinnati, UCF, Houston. Like, these are the type of schools actually that if they were still in the group of five, I don't think I would be so anti the group of five getting a playoff spot. But when you lost all those kind of teams like that, there's just not many left. But we're not talking about the playoff or the group of five team in the playoff. I've ranted on about that enough. If you haven't been paying attention, UCF and Gus Malzahn are actually out recruiting Florida right now, which is pretty amazing. And they're right with Ole Miss. They're killing it, man. UCF is heading into that league, and they're going to be a force. But I got this Colorado schedule. And calling it easy is not accurate. You start off with some absolute beasts in North Dakota State. And I mean, any Power 4 athletic director that schedules North Dakota State should be fired. You don't mess with the Bison. I'm telling you, man, that's a lose-lose situation. If you lose to them, you lost to an FCS team. If you beat them, you beat an FCS team. No, you don't schedule them. Do not schedule those dudes. That is a bad move. And they start the season with them. And the Colorado fans are running their mouths to North Dakota State fans. Like, dude, they're an FCS team and you're running your mouth. So that's a very tough game. Will they win? I think they might win. I'll go ahead and give it to them. Let's give them that one. Then they're going to Nebraska for a revenge game. Nebraska lost to them last year. Nebraska at home this year, 100,000 fans. Nebraska's going to get that revenge. Absolutely. Then they got Colorado State in a rival game. I have no idea how good Colorado State is going to be this year, but they almost beat them last year. I think Colorado wins this year. Baylor, I'm done with Dave Aranda. It's failed. I'm going to go with Colorado, 3-1 through 4 games. Then they got to go to the bounce house at UCF, and they're going to get mollywopped, which makes them 3-2. Then they got Kansas State. Kansas State's going to absolutely crush them. That's 3-3. Then they take on Arizona in what I consider to be a bit of a coin flip game. Let's go ahead and call it a loss. 3-4. Then they take on Cincinnati in another coin flip. We'll let them go win this one. 4-4. Then they're heading into the final 4 games of the year. In those final 4 games, they got Texas Tech in a big shootout. I'll go ahead and give this one to Colorado. 5-4. Then they finish with Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. Loss, loss, loss. No chance in any of those. And they finished the season with 5 wins. Do not make a bowl game, and nothing could make me happier. That team is ranked 16th in this game. It's amazing. They're ahead of schools like Oklahoma, Missouri, Tennessee, Kansas State, and Arizona. Tennessee and Missouri are plus 180 to make the playoffs this year. If you don't gamble, that means if you bet $100, you win 180. They're just one spot ahead of Colorado. Colorado is plus 2,000 to make the playoffs. That means you bet 100, you win 2,000. So you see very long odds for Colorado to make the playoffs. Not very long odds. This is more amazing. This is Joel Klatt. Joel Klatt, again, a guy who I have respected a whole lot up until last year based on what he said about the Stallion situation, where he just totally, it was a total nothing to him. And I just can't get my head around how you could think it's just absolutely nothing, move along. It was basically say, yeah, move along, whatever. And whether you agree to what degree, how bad it was, I don't think anybody agrees to what degree it was. There's all sorts of varying opinions. How bad was it? How much did it assist? What should the punishment be? There's all sorts of opinions, like tons of variance in opinion in all those questions. But to say, when anybody says to me it's absolutely a total nothing burger, like, I just think you lack critical thinking skills if you think it's absolutely nothing. But anyway, here's what Joel, but keep this in mind, a former Colorado quarterback, Joel Klatt, had to say.
Era. Me, I mean, you need one more stop against USC.
We didn't get a stop.
That's right.
So that's where.
So to me, I genuinely believe that with your quarterback in particular, you have a chance to compete for the Big 12 championship. In this era, there's 12 teams in the playoff. If you're on the level where you can compete for a conference championship, you will be competing, at least in my estimation, for a playoff spot.
I love to hear it.
What's your expectation?
To do just what you just forementioned.
This is what you just forementioned. To do just what you just forementioned. Oh my God, dude. All right. I got a bunch of comments and pictures and tidbits to go through. So we're going to move into that. Do I have anything else on my notes here? When Nick Saban retired, I was pretty convinced that Alabama would go back to basically what they were between Bear Bryant and Nick Saban. And if you've been watching the show for any amount of times, you've heard me rattle this off 100 times. But if you haven't, between Bear Bryant's retirement and hiring Nick Saban, this is who Alabama was.
That's right. I said they might fall back into a period of national irrelevance. Why would I say that? Alabama's always been great. They've got, 18 national championships? I'll tell you why I say that. They've been a beneficiary of the two greatest coaches in the history of the game in Bear Bryant and Nick Saban. But there was 24 years between Bear Bryant and Nick Saban. What happened in those 24 years? I'll tell you. Alabama finished outside the top 10 16 times in 24 years. They finished outside the top 25 10 times in 24 years.
Outside the top 25 10 times in 24 years. When's the last time you remember being outside the top 25?
8-4. That's their average record. Without the greatest coach in the game, Alabama's Florida.
That's a good one, right? Yeah, without the greatest coach in the game, Alabama's Florida. Outside the top 10, 16 times in 24 years. Outside the top 25, 10 times. 10 times. That's nuts. But that's who they were for 24 years. Now, it was unrealistic for me to think they were going to drop down that far. But I did hope that we would see a noticeable drop. Kalen DeBoer, obviously known for coaching guys up. He's won everywhere he's ever been. Now he's got better talent. And somehow he is recruiting at the same clip as we are, which is just mind-blowing. He started off a little bumpy, and the way they've picked it up, it's been pretty incredible and really impressive. 20 commits, got a couple of 5 stars. One of them's from Georgia. Couldn't keep him in state. Per player average, right there with us at 93.44. And currently, as it stands, the biggest competition for the recruiting crown right now for us. And to win that recruiting crown, we now have to pretty much make a clean sweep of all our big targets, or it's not going to happen. We took a big hit today with Dorian Brew, a big hit as far as that goes. A couple weeks ago, maybe a week ago, Tyler Atkinson came up. Tyler Atkinson is a 2026 linebacker from Georgia who came up during one of the official visit weekends for an unofficial. He really likes Ohio State. James obviously loves him. He's amazing. But we watched his film just because somebody brought it up in the comments how fast he was. And I was like, yeah, he is. I'm going to show his highlights. So I showed his highlights. Now I got this little clip of him shot from the field level. And I hope you'll be able to see it on the because obviously it's bigger on your phone. You're going to see the cutoff version. But I'm going to play it anyway because it's so fun to watch him.
Oh my God, come here. Come here. Come here.
High school linebackers aren't supposed to move like that. They're also supposed to be a little thicker. They'll put on the mask. High school linebackers are supposed to look like that. You see the beef? Look at the beef. That's what a high school linebacker should look like. All right, let's roll through some of our stuff here. This is Shakai Mills Knight committing soon. He posted today. So we plan on bringing him in for a visit in the fall. And looks like he's going to be committed when he makes that visit. Not so good news. Better news, Malik Autry posted this today. I think he looks really good in that color. Much better than Auburn, though Auburn does have great uniforms. In my top 5, a very underrated uniform. Chris Henry Jr. When my time comes, hopefully I can shine like that, talking about JJ. And if you look at Chris Henry, I mean, this kid is his face, everything is maturing so much, so fast. He's going to be an absolute monster too. Anyway, JJ retweeted that with a handshake emoji. So those two getting along, obviously a great thing. London Merritt, absolutely having a good time with everybody retweeting him. Totally bodying Avery Gotch. Ari Wasserman wrote an article about the biggest impact players of each team. For Ohio State, with the entire team basically returning and the big-time additions on both sides of the ball, and Will Howard, J.J. Smith, and Caleb Downs, there's a lot of X factors at Ohio State. But I'm going to go with someone the Buckeyes recruited out of high school, former 5-star C.J. Hicks. Ohio State fans have been waiting patiently for him to get his chance. And if he plays at an all-conference level, it'll be a game changer for the Buckeyes. Definitely been waiting for him to get his chance, though I'm not saying he deserved it before he, it's when we saw him on the field, he looked like he was not ready, to be honest. I've been waiting for him to be ready. This is Dorian Brew's graphic. These things are so hideous, man. I hate it. They're so busy. I can't even tell what's going on. That one's disgusting, and I hate it. Jay Thompson says, everyone's excitement about Odom as a DT reinforces my belief that we should have bulked up JT, who was listed at 6'4", 277 when he arrived, and turned him into a superstar 3-tech. That's an interesting thought. It really is. Now, when you're recruiting someone who's a top defensive end in the country, you're going to have a rough time talking him into that and going along with that. Could he be? I think so. Yeah, I think he could be. His athleticism would really show. But he would definitely need a bit more weight. I think he could put it on if he wanted to. They're probably holding him back from putting on too much weight. He definitely could. Let's see. What is this Akron slander about? I don't understand this. Everywhere I go. But you've never been to Akron, Dan? What are you talking about? Rubber capital of the world, baby. Go look at your tires. And when you look at your tires, you thank Akron next time. Here is Coach Locke with Reese. They were moving their kids in, starting the semester at Ohio State. And they got along great. They had a couple-hour chat. Reese tweeted, ran into Coach Locke yesterday at freshman orientation. We both have children starting their journey at Ohio State. After hanging out with him for a few hours, I have even more confidence that the running back room will be rolling. Love his demeanor and seriousness. He's my guy. We've talked about this rivals camp a couple of times. Tavian won the MVP at that camp. I don't think I've mentioned that yet. I wanted to give our guy his props. The A train. This is one of our Ducks on Juck. Autzen is legit. It gets 130 plus decibels. I don't know exactly what that translates to. Like I don't have a baseline for what 100 decibels sounds like to really get what that means. You know what I mean? Out of 54,000 fans, anyone going to Eugene this year will dig the atmosphere during the game. However, we've planted a baseball stadium and a soccer field in the middle of the parking lot, and there aren't any bars or restaurants around the stadium. So pregame is going to be pretty weak compared to other Big Ten stadiums. You know, when I was on the show with Ryan from Sports Chat 503, he really seemed to wonder how the rest of the Big Ten felt about Oregon coming in with only having a 54,000 seat stadium. Almost like a bit of an inferiority complex about it, like nervous if they belong. I think Autzen Stadium's awesome. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's one of my top 5. And that environment's amazing. And if I didn't have such a fear of long flights, I would absolutely be going. Sure as heck I'm not driving. But no, I can't wait because I know that some of our listeners are going, and I can't wait to get pictures from that game. But no, I'll be here on the pregame and postgame with you guys live. We'll do that for every game. This is where we're going to hang out. I've got a new TV mounted right up there, a big sucker. I could sit right here. Heck, we might even do it live during the game if it's a boring one. Talk about what's going on. My buddy AJC, 1972, always reminding me that he's older than me. College football stadiums. On my bucket list would be to take an entire college season off from work or right after I retire and go to a different college game, iconic stadium each week. Plan it out, road trip from stadium to stadium, cheer for some home teams. It would be great. It would be amazing, and I am in 100%. I love the idea. Cody Holzinger says, I really think people are underestimating how much Chip Kelly is going to help this offensive line and run game. I'd bet Fry ends up looking like a great coach as our run game improves this year. And a lot of that, I think, is because of Chip. So here's the deal. I've certainly not been underestimating that. And there are a lot of people who believe that who aren't too happy about it. And what I mean is they're going to be happy about the run game being better and the offensive line better. But they're not going to be happy about the offensive line looking better because it will extend Fry's time, because then, that'll be a good season on Fry. It'll be viewed as a good offensive line. Offensive line coach will get the credit, whether he deserves it or not. So there's a lot of people who don't want that to happen. They want it to happen, but they don't want him to get the credit. They're begrudging about that offensive line playing good based on Chip's scheming. And, You know what I mean? It's like, okay, but it's our offensive line. You know what I mean? I don't know. I've had the conversation a couple of times. Believe it or not, there are some people who are having a hard time with that. The bottom line for me is, even if he ends up being a horrific coach next year or the year after, if Chip's here and the offensive line is playing great, well, then the offensive line is playing great. We win, right? Speaking of the offensive line. All right, so Billy Tuesday, been around here a whole long time, maybe since like week 1. A great friend of the show. Thank you, Billy. Always our buddy here. You've talked in the past about the philosophical shift of Day, evidenced by him taking the Saban commitment and giving up play calling. In that spirit, if Day thinks Fry has underperformed in recruiting and or development this year, Fry is gone after the season. Friendship be damned. That said, I'm rooting for Fry. Thanks, go Bucks. Now, I couldn't agree with that more. The last sentence, I mean. The last sentence. I'm rooting for Fry. I am rooting for Fry, for sure. And I want to hope that Billy Tuesday's right here. And I have made those points about the philosophical change. And what he's referring to that there is when he took Saban when Air Nolan was committed, and he had been telling Air all along, it's one quarterback class, you're the guy, you're our guy. And then he took Saban in after that 48 hours of debate at the Woody they had on what they were going to do. I don't feel that's a move he makes in the past. I don't feel that's a move he makes until right here, this moment in time. I just don't think he does it. And the play calling as well, and a couple other things. But along with that, what he's saying here is maybe in the past he would have let Fry slide on this, but his new attitude is, I'm winning at all costs. I don't care about the relationships anymore. This is the mission, and we can maybe get back to that at some point later on. But for now, it is all about wins and losses, and that's it. I do agree with that. But don't you think at some point when we talk about personal relationships and we mix them in with work, that it almost becomes a blind spot where we can't see someone we love or care for is screwing up, where we don't even realize it, but we make excuses. I've noticed this in myself working with family, and that's kind of what I fear. I don't fear that he's going to look at it and say he's really screwing up, but I can't let him go. He's my buddy. I more fear that he will have a blind spot to the screwing up. I hope you understand what I mean by that. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Billy adds, with the early returns on Laurinaitis, Guerreri, and Coach Locke so far fantastic, Fry is the only potential weak link on an otherwise amazing staff. Hoping they're grooming Alan Clark to be LJ's successor, dude has serious recruiting chops, and if Day does get rid of Fry, I expect the next offensive line coach to have serious recruiting ties in the South, like Coach Clark. Go Bucks. Clark is killing it. He really is. If they were to go get an outside hire, short of a big name like a Jason Taylor, who, let's be honest, he's going to climb the ranks, but short of another really big name, or somebody really, really proven, at Alabama or Texas or something, yeah, that's one I would say I'd agree. Keep it in-house. Keep it with Clark. He's killing it. The guys seem to love him. He does got the recruiting chops. Deathstroke says, bro, what? Get the hell out of here. A 3-star tight end with no big offers is killing it. Yeah, okay. They took this kid because they missed on the other ones, including Luka Gilbert. Stop gassing this up. And he is referring to Brody Lennon. And he's apparently not watched Brody Lennon play and is just going by Brody Lennon's rating. Brody Lennon runs a 4.5. He's 6'4", 220, and he's an absolute stud. Yes, he's lowly ranked. He played against poor competition. His highlight is 16 minutes long. Tell me the next guy you find with a 16-minute long highlight tape. And I have criticized Keenan Bailey for his singular focus on Nate Roberts in recruiting this year and for losing out on Luka Gilbert and Brock Schott. But when there was a second tight end debate, there were three in the debate: Luka Gilbert, Brock Schott, and Brody Lennon. Brody Lennon was there all along. Just because you didn't know about it doesn't mean it wasn't so. This isn't some, I'm just going to go grab this 3-star down the street right at the last minute. That's not what happened here. When I first brought up Brody Lennon, Brock Schott, and Luka Gilbert, those were the three guys on the board when they were considering a second tight end. All the way back then, before Luka and Brock committed to Miami. This isn't something new. Been around the whole time. Been a stud all that time. And we don't know if he wouldn't have been the pick over Luka or Brock. The Buckeye businessman says, all right, I'm a fan. Good job, Juck. Here's my sub. That's like a virus. You give me enough times, I'm going to get you. Thank you. Appreciate you, buddy. I do want to say I was looking at the analytics the other day. Shanism says, I don't get this, man. He says, I'm a big fan of Cuck on Bucks. Keep at it. The channel will be fine, I predict. Hearts. Listen, it sounds like such a nice message, but he called me Cuck on Bucks. I don't know. Is he trolling me? I don't know. It might have been autocorrect. Maybe he uses that word a lot. I don't know if you guys notice this, but sometimes when I accidentally do this, it pops up a heart or a thumbs up. It's not doing it now, of course, when I want it to. If you could, please like the video for me. And I did notice when I was running some analytics numbers, which I never do, but I did the other day. First thing, you guys will be not surprised to learn that formerly we had 7% females in our audience. That is now down to 4.6%. So we have lost one of our three females. We got two left. We got three. We got my mom, Stephanie, Doreen. That's about it. But they've gone down. So maybe my mom stopped watching. I know Doreen hasn't stopped. Not Stephanie either. Anyway, there are 65% of you aren't subscribed to the channel. And it would be I'd really appreciate it if you could do that, if you wouldn't mind. I mean, if you're a consistent watcher, if you can subscribe and then set those bell alarms, it really helps the algorithm, helps me out. So I'd appreciate it if you could do that or consider it. Like our buddy Buckeye businessman. If you give me enough shots, I will grow on you, and eventually you will hit that subscribe button. So let's just skip the dance and just go ahead and do it now. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, guys, that's my show. It's 2:30. I got to hit the sack. I will talk to you guys tomorrow on Sunday, which is today. Listen, why don't we do a live? If you're watching this on Sunday morning, maybe we will go live at 2 and discuss any of the topics we talked about in the video. So let's say 2:30. I'm going to pop on here and we'll go live Sunday 2:30-ish. Look out for the alert. Set your alarms. That also helps the algorithm as well. Listen me talking about that. I feel like such a dork saying that. I'm sorry, guys. I take that back. Do what you want to do, man. We're just having fun. Anyway, thanks, guys. Talk to you soon. Juck on Bucks out.